Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Welcome, all my friends, to the show that's being restructured. I don't know, Scott. We're restructuring everything around Houston right now. But no, welcome back. Born on the Bayou Sports. Tim Costello, Scott Barzilla, coming to you hot here on a Wednesday evening.
Yeah, I lovingly call that road destruction.
All right, Scott, I gave you an opening question. You've been stealing the opening questions lately. I texted you one earlier to claim a spot on the podcast that you've been coming in hot. Opening question, starting question this week. What is your underrated Astros moment that you've witnessed either live or through the television?
I have to go back way before your fandom, and that is Dickie Thon getting beamed in the head. That was 1983, I think. And I know the Astros had been picked to win the World Series that year. They had Joe Niekro. They had Nolan Ryan. I think they had Don Sutton as well. So, he had all the pitching. And Dickie Thon was kind of like a 80s version of A-Rod waiting to happen. And it never happened after that. That kind of blew that whole season up.
My parents used to talk very fondly of Dickie Thon. Because they used to I don't know if you ever took advantage of this, but back in the day, as they say, after the 7th inning, you could walk in the dome for free. And so they both worked as bartenders in the downtown area, and they'd get off work and go check out the last few innings of an Astros game together. So they both were big Dickie Thon fans. I met Dickie, actually. He came to a Skeeters game and hopped on the broadcast with us.
The cool thing about the Astrodome was that they used to have behind the right field and left field lines, they used to have picnic benches. You can just go down there and sit, and they'd have peanuts out there for free. And then they had at the concession stand, they always had the out-of-town special. So whatever that city was known for, that's what you got. So you're playing the Brewers, you're getting a bratwurst. So it was, that was kind of a cool experience.
Kind of on the forefront, I would say, maybe for the way concessions are today, right? We're hey, you've got to have more than your standard hot dog and hamburger. Fans expect more nowadays. And I think, hey, maybe the Astros are on the forefront of getting ahead of things and offering the out-of-town special.
Yeah, exactly.
I got one. I will never forget the game I was at where the starting pitcher hit a home run, and it was Brandon Backey. And I went fucking crazy, man. It was his first ever Major League home run. There's an Oppo Taco to right field. My mom and I and my brother were sitting up the first base, sitting next to it behind home plate, on the second level. And we just went absolutely ape shit. It was a Mother's Day that we were at. And it was as a kid, I was, the pitcher just went yard. The pitcher just went yard. And then it's, Mike Hampton 2.0 basically with Brandon Backey till he had a little too much fun at a friend's wedding in Galveston.
Yeah, the worst luck I've ever seen. You remember Richie Sexton, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we hit the foul pole, the flagpole.
I was at that game where he hit it more than halfway up.
I'll never forget that one. That ball was tanked, bro.
That ball was going 460, 470, easy.
I had one game I went to live where Chris Sampson took a no-hitter into the eighth inning. That was pretty cool. Everybody just wasn't talking about it. I was at game 1 of the ALCS and in 2017, and the moment itself that was underrated, but will never be underrated to me, is after the game was over. Do you know who the first person I was that I like dapped up and celebrated with?
No.
You'll never guess. Take like your wildest guess.
Oh shoot, I don't even know. Nancy Moss.
It was actually Andre Johnson.
You didn't think I was going to go there, did you?
No, but no bullshit. I was in a very expensive part of the stadium thanks to Mr. Caraba, who took me. And like fucking Andre Johnson was there. The game ends. We win. I turn, fucking dap up, bro hug with Andre fucking Johnson, bro. Like underrated in everybody else's world, but life changing in mine.
All right. We've actually, in the span of a day or so, we went from not much to talk about to an absolute shit ton to talk about. So what do you want to lead off with?
I want to start about restructuring these Texans because holy shit, Chef Nick is cooking, Scott. He has been chopping and dashing and moving money around and laundering like crazy. But no, at the end of the day, he's freed up cap space and he's making more moves. Cam Robinson added today. Stingley locked up long term. He had another year on the Hunter's contract. Man, I mean, a lot of it guaranteed money too, Scott. Like we have guaranteed a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball. But like when you look up, you realize you have for the next 2 or 3 years pretty elite defenders in some great places.
Well, I think the two things kind of hit me on that as I was taking a look. I don't know if you've ever gone to overthecap.com.
I have not.
It's a good resource. The guy, who runs that, he keeps the cap pretty up to date. And so he doesn't have Cam Robinson added yet, but pre Cam Robinson, they were about 29 million under the cap. So if you add his 14 million ish, you're still talking 14 or 15 million under the cap. Now, obviously, some of that has to be earmarked for the rookies. They're coming in the draft. So you're probably talking about maybe 8 or 9 spendable. So, the question is, does he have any more tricks up his sleeve? Is there any more guys you can go to that, you can massage their contracts to free up any more money? Or are they done? Because they re-upped Titus Howard. They took, they converted, I think, this year's money to signing bonus. So his base salary is like 1.1 million. Hunter, I think they probably freed up a little bit, maybe. But
that's the one I wanted to ask you. Do you think there was kind of a look at him like, hey, well, we're negotiating. Yeah, this is a 2-year deal, but really, we're going to add on to it once we free up more money? Or was this just, hey, you played so great, we're going to add another year?
It sounded like they added another year because he's now the second highest paid defensive end in football.
Right. They added another year, but I'm wondering, was that the plan all along? Was the plan like, hey, we're putting this on paper as a 2-year deal, but we both want to add another year to it? Or was it like, look, we gotta make sure we don't lose this guy. If we let him play another year like this, free agency is going to be expensive. Let's just add a year now.
Yeah, that might be it. And they might have, freed up some of that money because, they obviously waited for, they redid Howard. They redid, I'm trying to think who else they redid. Well, they've done Shire. You've done Nico. Christian Kirk, freed up some money. So really, they've gone to just about everybody that makes money and freed up some. I mean, the only thing that you might do is, do you consider cutting Jimmy Ward?
Not yet. I think at this point he still has value on this team on the back end.
I guess
in a 3 safety set, right, where you're bringing Petrie down more to play at the line of scrimmage, you still have Ward and Bullock in the back end.
Because, the question is right now, you need another receiver, I think. Because, Tank Dell, if he comes back at all, is not going to be coming back until November, December.
He's not coming back in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So I don't think you can count on John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson to be that third wide receiver.
I don't either.
So do you consider Stephon Diggs if he would come for 12 or 13 million?
I was thinking for less. To me, the number for Stephon Diggs, if I can get him for like 7.5 million for one, hey, Hopkins took 5. I think you're better than Hopkins, but you're also coming off an ACL tear, and I expect you to need some ramp up time. So 1 year, 7.5, show everybody you're healthy, and hey, maybe you can go get one more 2 or 3 year contract.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you go up to maybe 10, 9 or 10,
I'm
I
okay
think
with
you
that. I don't know if I want to go to 10. 9 is kind of where I'm at.
but then you would have the cap space for the rookies.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be pretty much done. I mean, we've signed Cam Robinson today.
I feel pretty good with like the linemen we've signed plus whatever we draft, if that's it for the line, right? Like I feel like, okay, you've reshaped the core of this line, you've brought in enough talent to compete, and you're gonna probably draft some linemen in the middle rounds. Like, okay, I feel better than I did the day we traded Tunsil.
I mean, the question is now, so now that you have Robinson and Fisher and Howard, do you move Howard back inside, play guard, or do you make Fisher your swing tackle again?
I think Robinson's probably more likely a hedge on Fisher than it is on Howard. Like I think Howard's your left tackle. I really do. I may be wrong on that, but like Robinson's not. You didn't bring in an All Pro today, right? Like you brought in a decent player, right? Like not anything to laugh at, but like you brought in a guy who's on the backside of like an okay career. So like if Fisher is good and Howard is good, Robinson's not starting. I don't feel like. Do you?
That money, believe it or not, he is your second highest paid Texan right now.
I guess you're right. I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, you're probably moving somebody inside. If that's the case.
Well, and the thing is, and we were just talking about this, the Battle Red blog behind the scenes. So you jettisoned 3 guys and you brought in 3 guys, right? I think we can agree that Kenyon Green was just this side of awful. And Shaq Mason really didn't look good at the end. So you traded a couple of guys that really aren't very good. And you traded away a guy that's, legit all pro kind of tackle. And you're replacing him with Robinson, who is probably middle of the road, right? You would say?
I think that's okay. I mean, I think he might be a tad below middle of the road, but what if it's fair?
So the question is, where do we see Tomlinson and Pearson?
Both slightly better than the people that they replaced.
I mean, are they guys? I mean, and so if you're cutting those guys, are you bringing in guys that you think fit better with the scheme that you're running? Or are you bringing in guys that are better clubhouse fits, so to speak?
Probably a little bit of both, right? Like at the end of the day, like you look for certain things in the run game, right? Like, hey, we run a zone read scheme, and we look for linemen who can move laterally in a certain way and have this type of run grade or whatever. But also, like, hey, they had to be at a price. We didn't have as much money to spend, and they had to be coachable, probably.
I think with Tomlinson's played. Well, he hasn't played for Ryans before. I mean, he was playing on the same team that Ryans coached defense. So Ryans is familiar with him. I'm guessing he's going to come in and at least be a professional, where that was a question mark for Kenyon Green at certain points of his career. And then, with Shaq Mason, I just think that guy's probably washed.
So I think Mason was a combination of washed and just a toxic environment in that room. I think the line room was toxic.
I don't know if he was so much a part of that, though.
but even if he's not a part of it, he's just not motivated to show up and work every day.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I guess that could be true. Pearson is a guy, he's younger, was a second-round pick. Obviously didn't pan out with the Vikings. So you remember when remember those days when Daryl Morey was acquiring, like it seemed like every failed first-round pick he could get his hands on?
yeah,
I mean,
just in
like he
case.
had,
Terrence Williams, hey, let's give him a try. Flynn, let's give him a try.
yeah, that guy Flynn was the point guard, right?
Yeah,
And didn't he bring in Thabit?
we did have Hakeem Thabit at one point just to see if there was anything there.
And so, is this Nick Casario pulling a Daryl Morey, kind of
I
bringing
mean,
in?
Bill O'Brien did it for a bit too. He traded like for all those former first round picks who were busts. The cornerback Hargraves. There were several. I can't remember off the top of my head, but like he traded for several first round picks. Like, I mean, it's guys who had a high ceiling at some point, right? Who maybe like a Kenyon Green didn't get the coaching he needed. Because I still think like from the start, like everybody felt Kenyon Green was a developmental lineman who had like certain size or whatever to make it work, but needed coaching. And then you came to the Houston Texans where your offensive line coach had to be coerced into staying in the game instead of just retiring, and clearly didn't coach him up at all. So like a guy like that, if he got drafted to the Eagles on day one, he might be a pretty good NFL lineman by now. Who knows? But in the Texans, he sucked. So,
Yeah.
You're hoping maybe you get something like that, right? Maybe you can get a guy who just didn't get the right coaching. But I don't trust that we're going to coach up any fucking offensive lineman. We've never shown the ability to do so outside of Gary Kubiak years.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this team, though, and this is where I'm at right now. So if we go unit by unit, is your secondary better or the same as it was at the end of the season?
Better.
Right, because you added Gardner Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And you've added another, like a backup running back, a cornerback that I think they got the same day they got Stingley.
Yeah.
So you've added some depth. All right, your linebackers. What do you think?
Push.
Okay, all right.
I don't
What
think
about
we've
your
really done anything there, do you? We picked up some special teams
No.
linebackers, but not really anything I expect to see playing time.
Right. So what about your defensive line?
Maybe a touch better, maybe a push. Pretty similar.
I'd say a little better because you added Rankins back.
Yeah, that's fair.
You had most of those guys in the rotation came back, and you added Rankins, right? And they added a guy, Sean Pendergast did 5 questions for me. He likes the guy Taylor that they got from the Bears as a defensive end. So, so going through now, leaving the offensive line out of it, quarterback's unchanged. What do you feel about the running back room?
Unchanged, I feel like.
It's unchanged, right?
Yeah.
You brought back, and then what about your wide receivers?
This is at the end compared to the end of last year?
Yeah, at the end of last year.
Certainly better than it was last year.
So what you're looking at right now is that you're looking at, of all the units except for the offensive line, you're either a push or better. So would you agree with that statement?
I would, yeah.
So really that puts you in excellent position, I think, in the draft. Because I think in the draft, you probably want to add, I would say, 2 linemen somewhere, I think, day 1 and day 2. And then after that, you're pretty much free to draft best available player.
I agree with that. I mean, I add a receiver in there. Like if Matthew Golden falls to you at 25 in the first round, you grab him, right? But I do think you can get a great. I mean, hey, Jason Kelsey was a 4th round pick, right? Like centers and guards can be gotten 2nd, 3rd, 4th round and be plugged and played if you know where to look.
Yeah, and you've got 4 picks because you got 2 third rounders. So if you go a receiver in the first round, you still got a 2nd rounder and 2 thirds. To go get your lineman. I mean, obviously, I would like to get a running back, but this is a particularly deep running back class. So you could get one in the 4th or 5th round, and that guy could be a starting caliber running back and push Dameon Pierce either off this team or definitely get his attention.
Yeah, I'm with you on getting Pierce off the team. No offense to him, he's probably a wonderful guy. I just don't think he's what we need to back up Mixon, right? Like I don't think that's the guy. Um, I'd love a Darren Sproles type gadget player too, like late in the draft, like a 6th or 7th round, not throwaway pick, but because it's still a pick. But let's get a gadget guy. Let's get a guy who we're going to use on 15, 20 plays, maximum, 3rd down only, but, great in space once you get the ball in his hands.
I mean, I'd like a guy, ideally, that could do that and carry the ball, I would say, 5-6 times a game. I mean, the problem is with Mixon is that they were loading them up with like 30 carries in some games, which is just ridiculously stupid.
I think in that scenario, I'm drafting a back earlier. That's going to be a legitimate backup. And then I'm drafting a gadget player, right? Like somebody I can put him out in the slot. I can line him up in the backfield. I can, do a lot of different things with them. Because I think when you look at least what the Rams do offensively, because that's where we have to look, as far as what we're somewhat expecting. They use a lot of motion, right? They bring a lot of guys across the formation. And if you've got a gadget type player, pardon me, who plays running back, who can work out of the slot, who can do all those things, plus you've got Joe Mixon in the backfield, now defenses have to respect some different things, right?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you can find those guys just about any.
That's what I'm saying. Get a 6th or 7th round pick and get a little gadget Texas Tech running back, slot guy that made their way to the NFL straight for a while between Welker and Amendola, right?
I think we did pick up a fullback, like an actual honest to God fullback.
We did.
So, that could make the running game. I see them investing more in the running game. And I think that's what D'Amico Ryans wants anyway. And I don't want Mixon carrying the ball 30 times. That's just a recipe. That's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, if he gets to 20 carries a game, that might be too much. I see the fact that, hey, he's hot. He's feeling it. Some games you give him 25 carries. Some games you give him 15. I mean, I think everybody kind of gets that. But if you see a guy repeatedly getting 20 or more carries, he's not going to survive a 17-game schedule that way.
Yeah, the extra game makes it a little bit tougher, right? You kind of want a little bit tighter pitch count when you've got a full extra game in there on the season. But also at the same time, I understand why you want to give a guy 25, 30 carries when the offensive line was as bad as it was, right? So let's at least let these guys go out and attack versus, as a line versus sitting back and olaying the defensive line into our quarterback.
Week one against the Colts, he was feeling it. And that was a good game, to sit there and say, okay, let's lean on the running game. But you're going to have to find, and this is the whole game plan offense, right? Different guys are going to have to beat you, in different weeks in order for this team to get from 10 wins to say 12 or 13.
I think that's the key, right? Like it's trying to get into that position to have home field advantage. I don't know if you're going to necessarily get that bye, but realistically, you could at least hope for a scenario where the first seed loses and you have home field advantage in an AFC championship game because you were the 2 seed, right? That's not outrageous to think, to jump from where we are to get into a 2 seed.
Well, and at the very least, hosting the divisional round game.
Yeah. We've never hosted a second round game. We've only ever hosted a wild card round game.
That I think is a good goal for this year.
I agree. I absolutely agree. You've got to find a way to get some more playoff games in your home building, because at the end of the day, we're weather state. Like this isn't a group of guys that love traveling to cold weather. You live in Houston, you eventually get used to the fact that we don't get as cold as they do elsewhere. So having to go play football in Buffalo in just January doesn't exactly sound pleasurable.
No, it doesn't. And the thing is that you're also if you look at the landscape, of course, we could talk about this later, but I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion that the Chiefs are going to be there in the end.
I think they'll still be there,
I mean,
Scott.
Kelsey's coming back, but he did not look good, down the stretch.
Reports have come out that he had the flu there in the Super Bowl, but I think they'll be fine. You still have Patrick Mahomes, you still have Andy Reid.
Yeah.
As long as Mahomes is your quarterback, they're going to at least be hanging around, right? But let's move it on because we've got some other things to get to. We talked about the Cam Smith hype train last week. Now I think there's two hype trains, and I want to know, Scott, is the Cam Smith hype train on a collision course with the Zach DeZenzo hype train, or is there room for both hype trains on this roster? Is it Cam, Zach, either or can we have both?
What positions does DeZenzo play?
First, third, and corner outfield spots.
I think, and has Christian Walker actually been in a game yet since he had that injury?
It's been a minute. I don't believe he has.
I say both. And to me, and also he got hit in the head yesterday. DeZenzo got hit in the head in the game yesterday. So he might, have to sit out a few days, which, any excuse they can, right? And my thing, and I've been on this train for a long time, I don't want John Singleton on this team. And it really doesn't even have anything to do with what he's doing in camp. It's just that he plays one position.
Do in camp.
Well, but I'm saying even if you were hitting 300, I don't really care because he can only play one position. I want guys that can play multiple positions. And so his left-handedness, while nice, I'd much rather have somebody that can play multiple positions. And so if you add DeZenzo in place of Singleton, then I guess the other question is, who's that last guy? Because I think Smith, if he's on the team, he's starting. So Chaz is your fourth outfielder. Who's your fifth outfielder? Do you think it's Gamble? Or do you think Gamble gets cut?
I think in the scenario you're proposing where John Singleton is no more, I think Gamble probably makes the roster as a left-handed bat on the bench, right? Because there is no more John Singleton as a left-handed bat. So
that makes sense.
In that scenario. But also, Espada came out today and said he is committed to Altuve in left field. I wonder if there's a scenario where, and this is all hypothetical, all completely hypothetical, scenario where Walker's back and you look at a scenario where you've got two guys in DeZenzo and Smith that are both playing pretty well, or maybe those are just your two corner outfielders and Altuve goes back to playing second base.
Well, he committed another error today, so that's 3 errors.
He said he's really focused on making this work, and normally when he focuses on things, he makes it work. Is what he said.
Well,
just like
maybe when they get him with the roof closed and out of the wind, maybe things start looking better. I don't know.
But it looks bad. Like I am a guy. I think you could ask anyone who knows me. I do not accept besmudgery against my man Jose Altuve. I will literally fight over that person. Like, I love Jose so much, I will fight people who talk negatively about him. I don't allow it around me. But let's be honest with each other. When we talk about Jose Altuve's defensive showings in left field, they have been bad. He has trouble finding the wall. He is a jumper, right? Like that's situation number one. It's like he wants to make every play leaping. He leaps for the ball instead of just letting it come to him. He does not have good footwork. He again doesn't have a feeling for where the wall is out there, and it looks bad. It just looks really my dad and I used to joke about how bad Biggio was in the outfield when they brought in Jeff Kent. But this is worse. This is. I wonder if he'd be better in center, where he doesn't have to worry about the wall as much. I know, but I just wonder if Is the left field wall the problem? I don't fucking know. I don't know, Scott, but it's bad.
Oh, but I wish DeZenzo could play some second because they sent Wickham down, which kind of surprised me a little bit because I like Rogers. I don't want Dubon playing every day. I just don't. So, I mean, I like Rogers fine, but, then the question is, if not Rogers, then who at second base if Altuve's in left?
Then it's Paredes at second base and Cam Smith at third base and DeZenzo and right.
I guess I could live with that, but we haven't seen Paredes at second base in camp, and he has very limited time there in his career. I think he's got fewer than 100 innings total at second base.
Well, I guess this is all dependent on, too, if Christian Walker's healthy, right? Because
Yeah.
if Christian Walker's healthy, then now we do need somebody to play third and somebody to play right field. If Walker's not healthy, then DeZenzo's probably your starting first baseman, and Cam Smith's your right fielder, and Rogers is your second baseman with Jose Altuve in left field. I have to hope it's better in Minute Maid Park. I mean, in Dyken Park. I mean, like you agree with me, right, Scott? This is abysmal.
No, and I have to say this though, and think about when. So with Smith, the last real big prospect we had was Tucker, because Tucker came up after Jordan. Were you this geeked about Tucker?
Yes.
So
fuck yes. Because him and Jordan were both dropping huge ass bombs together in AAA.
So we're looking at 5 years at least since we've had a prospect of his caliber. You'd agree with that, right?
Probably, yeah.
I mean, to me, and whether or not he succeeds or not, it's just the possibilities you can see. Because nobody
the guy's different, right? Like you watch this guy play, he looks ready. Like he homered off a big league pitcher today. He got a single off a big league pitcher today. He's no longer doing this on AA guys, right? Like he did this on major league talent. And again, this is spring training and pitchers are working on things, but now we're at the part of March where the thing they should be working on is getting major league ready. And this guy, like, at least to me, Scott, passes the eye test.
Okay. So last question for you that I have. See if you can guess the number. How many days has it been since Lance McCullers appeared on a major league mound?
Okay.
Now he appeared on one Tuesday evening.
Okay. It was game 5. No, it was game 3. He took the loss in, right?
Yep, I think so. It's either 3 or 4.
So that would have been like October, late October. So a full year of Halloween, then another month end of November, another month end of December, another month January, another month February. So that's at 120. That's at like 485. And then I'm going to go like right around 500 days.
835 days.
How was I so far off, yo?
Because
I was 2 seasons off. I was 2 fucking seasons off. I forgot a whole other season.
So apparently he got text like from every former Astro luminary saying, congratulations. And, it wasn't a clean inning necessarily. I mean, he plunked a guy in the back, but he made it through an inning.
He announced his presence is what I saw.
Or he doesn't know.
He let people fucking know that Lance McCullers is back with authority.
I'm announcing my presence with authority. You're what? I'm announcing my presence. He's a first ball fastball hitter. No, but anyway.
Not mine.
So he's supposed to go again, I think, this weekend. So maybe he goes 2 innings. So obviously, with the season opening up a week from tomorrow, he's not building up the arm strength. He might get up to about 3 innings before camp breaks. So I don't think Luis Garcia hasn't pitched yet, has he?
No, I think it's going to be, was it Wozniacki or was Wozniacki?
Yeah.
I
I'm
think he's going to
saying,
be the fifth starter.
so
He's not looked bad.
how long until we see McCullers, do you think?
This is a fucking $1 million question. Do I have any lifelines left? Or no, I'm kidding. I think probably mid-May.
Mid-May, you think? So when do you think?
I think Lance McCullers makes the Mother's Day start.
What are you going to go with Garcia?
Right before the All-Star break.
Oh, God. But, you know,
he hasn't thrown any pitches yet.
Yeah, I think he's got up. They said he got up to 90 on the gun last time he threw.
Does that sound like a guy who's going to be back in a month?
No, you're right. But you know, the thing is with this team, last year they came on strong in the second half, largely because of pitching. Now this team in the second half, by August, you could see JP France back, maybe. You could see maybe Javier come back by August. Maybe.
But realistically, you should have Jose. I mean, you should have Garcia back.
Right.
That's for sure. McCullers, who I think most likely should fit better in a bullpen role, but we'll see what they do with him. It also depends on what Wozniacki does. Like if that guy's shoving as a fifth starter, I don't know where McCullers is going to go besides the bullpen. Like maybe they go to a 6-man rotation. I don't know. But like I feel pretty good. Like you know me, I'm a Fromber guy. I fucking love me some Fromber. I feel good about that. I think Hunter Brown's a stud. I think he figured something out last year, and I'm excited for him. Like I feel good there. I've seen encouraging things from Aaron Getty in camp. I don't know about you, but like I think he looks like the guy from the second half of the season, not the guy from the first half. Would you agree?
Yeah, and the only guy that's worrying me in that group is Blanco.
Yeah, Blanco hasn't been great.
But would you consider doing using Lance, because he has said he doesn't want to go to the bullpen. Would you consider him as an opener?
How many innings is an opener?
I would say like 3.
Like one turn through the lineup, basically?
Yeah, and then have like and piggyback Wozniacki with him.
That's a lot of fucking money for 3 innings, man. But if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do.
Well, that's better than no innings.
I agree. But, I mean, I'll call him a starter and get what I can out of him. If he becomes, what's the name that you bring up all the time? Odorizzi, right? Like, what if that's him at this point? You get 2 trips through the fucking lineup.
I could deal with that. I mean, I think with him, it's going to be more of a pitch count than 2 times through. I mean, Odorizzi was like, you pull him after, if he has a no-hitter, you still pull him after the second time through the lineup. I mean, that was Dusty's mistake.
Lance might need to be that guy. Lance has been a majority of 2-pitch pitcher, right? Fastball fucking Uncle Charlie, here it comes. And if the fastball's not 96 anymore, does he have 2 times through?
I could see him going 2 times through plus if he's pitching efficiently. If he's like at, say, 70 pitches through the 5th inning, I could see him throwing him out there the 6th. If he's the old Lance where he's at 95 pitches through 5 innings, then you got to pull him.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get that first version. I think if we could get what we got out of Odorizzi, probably be happy with that. Like, it's better than we've gotten for the last 2 fucking years, which is nothing. So I guess we just be thankful and move on.
Yep.
All right, Scott, let's talk about some fucking Houston Rockets basketball. Because the other night they were playing the 76ers. I was pretty frustrated at halftime, and I got to be honest, like I went to watch other shit. I was like, this is a frustrating game. And then I checked back in, and like lo and behold, Rockets won. And it was an unbelievable comeback.
I was just checking in just basically on box scores because I was like, I saw them down by like 25. I'm like, oh, this is going to be awful. So I turned it off. This is the biggest comeback in franchise history. It's
37
been,
points it was, right?
yeah, it's been documented. And they scored. They came down from 8 to 64 seconds. Now it's not Tracy McGrady, scoring 8 points in like what was it, 12 seconds or
Yeah,
whatever it
that was
was.
crazy, man.
But I mean, it's pretty close. Being down by 8 with with a little over a minute left. That's pretty damn good basketball.
I mean, the Jabari Smith missed free throw, Sengun tip in was a fantastic play. Like, probably an offensive foul, but hey, fuck it, it went our way. And then the Rockets just took over overtime.
Yeah.
This is a team that's vibing, Scott. Like, we were maybe worried about having to be in the play-in, and now all of a sudden here we are, most of the two-thirds of the way through March, and going towards the end of the season. Like, this team might be playing its best basketball of the year right now. We don't even have Amen on the roster, right? Like, he's hurt.
They said he may be back by Friday. They brought him along on the trip. They're going to be playing the Miami Heat, who I think have lost 8 in a row, I think, and are sitting in the 10th spot in the East, which 10th in the East would be about 12 or 13th in the West. So, after, trading away Jimmy Butler, they've kind of gone in the tank a little bit. So it's tight on top of the West. I mean, the difference between the 2nd and the 5th seeds, I think, is a game. There's like a 3-way tie for 2nd, and then 5th is like 1 game behind. So you just got to keep winning basketball games. But 8 games ago, I was just like, man, can we avoid the play-in? And now, you're looking at it, and could we be the 2nd seed? I mean, it's a remarkable turnaround.
I mean, if Ime doesn't win Coach of the Year, this thing's rigged, right? Because this is an all-time coaching job, at least as far as regular seasons go. Like, at least especially if you look at where he took this team over, you got him to 500 last year, which was great. And then you turned Amen Thompson into a legit superstar. You've turned Jalen Green into a pretty damn good scorer. You've gotten a lot out of Sengun. Dylan Brooks is probably playing the best basketball of his career, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say so.
And, Jock Landale, I don't think any other team in the NBA would have wanted Jock Landale. And he's knocking down fucking clutch threes against the 76ers, playing great minutes. So,
well, you figured out a way to kind of finagle Steven Adams into a rotation when he couldn't play, back-to-back games for much of the season because of his knee. And you found a way to get, Jabari Smith to not only accept a role on the bench, but thrive.
God, he's been so good since he's gotten back, Scott. You talk about, 8 games ago while you were worried, we were missing exactly what Jabari Smith has brought to the table. Like, Jabari has been consistently good every night in and night out since he was returned from injury.
And I think the bench probably serves him better, and I think Tari Eason is better served in the starting lineup. And so now the only question is when Amen comes back, do you bring him off the bench or do you shuffle this lineup again?
I think Tari goes back to the bench because he's just such a great spark off the bench. And Dylan Brooks slides back to the 4, and Amen's the 3.
I mean, you really can't go wrong either way.
When we were playing our best basketball of the season was with Dylan Brooks at the 4, Amen at the 3, Jalen at the 2, and Fred VanVleet at the 1, bringing Tari off the bench. And that was when Jabari Smith was hurt. Now you can bring Jabari and Tari off the bench together, Mighty Ducks 2 Bash Bros style, and let them come in and wreck shop off the bench. Like, let them bring that energy. Let them play off of each other. They're both so versatile. They both can play positionless defense. They can come in and play. They can be your 4-5 when you bring them in. They can be the 3-4. They can play 2-3, like the 2 and the 3. Like, you can literally bring them in almost anywhere.
And I'm encouraged by what happened tonight. I don't know if you watched tonight's game, Tim. Or I guess maybe this afternoon's game. I don't know how
I didn't watch it yet.
They were up by about 10 points. And this was, when teams start to make their run, right? The Magic are coming. They're bringing their best with about 2 minutes left. And so it becomes, we're going to foul you time, and you got to make your free throws. And that's where Fred VanVleet's leadership really shone, because he knocked down 4 key free throws during that last 2-minute stretch. And the team, as a team, shot about 90%. Coming into the game, we were the worst free-throwing shooting team in the NBA. That is going to kill us come playoff time if that continues. But, tonight, the big key is you shot well over 80% from the line, and you iced the game late in the game, win by 8. So it's a huge point. And the Magic were the ones missing key free throws. So I was more encouraged by how we finished that game than really anything that happened during the game, because the fourth quarter for this team has been their kryptonite all year.
Yep. I hopefully maybe that 76ers game was a turning point for them, and some new energy. But let's give out some awards, Scott. It's that time of the show. It is the horse's ass of the week.
I am giving out a slashy, Tim. I'm going to go with NIT/CBI/TCU/NCAA. I'm giving them all the horse's ass award for this week. So kind of to give you an idea, TCU finished their season 16-16. Okay. And as much as I might joke, there is no way that I could find to justify putting them in the field of 68. It's no way. They're not one of the 68 best teams. And, quite frankly, there's so many of these mid-majors that don't get shots, and these teams that go like 25-4 in their conference, and they lose in their conference tournament or something like that, and they get screwed and they get hosed. I would rather see them get a bid into the NCAA tournament than see a mediocre TCU team get in. So, maybe if they win the last 2 games against University of Colorado, maybe they have a case. Who knows, right? But I was looking around and I looked at the team, the field of 32 for the NIT. No TCU. And I was like, are they not one of the top 100 teams in the country? Maybe not, I guess. Then I looked and they have the new CBI, which is kind of like a Vegas Invitational, 24 teams in that field. And I looked at that one and no TCU. So I read a report in the Forrestal Telegram that TCU, along with some other teams in the Big 12 and the SEC and some other conferences, said they don't want anything to do with the NIT if they didn't make the NCAA tournament. Okay, that happens. And they turned down a bid to the CBI tournament. And when they went over the excuse, it sounded like, a lame excuse, but I kind of get it. Unfortunately, the transfer portal is going to open up before the end of April. And this is where I'm including the NCAA and this whole horse's ass thing, because why are we setting up a transfer portal when games are still being played? You see this in the NCAA football as well. They set up the transfer portal in December. Well, you've got teams playing bowl games. So why are we having a team sitting there having to worry about what's going to happen with the transfer portal and preparing for a bowl game at the same time? Why can't we set up the transfer portal for football in, say, January after the national championship game? Why can't we set up the transfer portal for the NCAA basketball in like mid-April after the postseason tournaments are all finished? And so, because you're going to sit there and you're worried about, and I saw the explanation, and I guess it makes some sense because, when you're in the NIT and you're in the CBI, you want to play your young kids. And what happens if a young kid comes in, scores like 18 points and has 7 rebounds? Then all of a sudden, some pissant school is going to say, hey, you can be a starter over here. Why don't you come over here? Whereas if the guy never plays at all, they're none the wiser and, okay, whatever. I think those excuses are kind of lame. I think you should always go to a postseason tournament, unless you're a team like the Mavericks where, half your roster is decimated because of injuries. You should go to the postseason because you never know what happens. TCU back in 2017, they go to the NIT. They win the NIT. They win it outright. And that had provided, you get to play in Madison Square Garden. It's a terrific recruiting tool for future seasons. And lo and behold, this team has made the tournament in about, 4 out of the last 6 or 7 years, which is something they never did before Jamie Dixon was around. I mean, the best they ever did was Billy Tubbs made it 2 years in a row, and we were one and done. We're getting kicked out in the first round. Whereas Jamie Dixon has won, a couple of first round games and has been a couple of bad officiating calls from getting into the Sweet 16. So the program's moving in the right direction. Why are we killing any momentum of possibly going to a CBI or going to the NIT and, not declining an invitation and going in and, wrecking shop and winning the thing and then saying, hey, look, we finished strong. Come to TCU. We're going to go to the tournament. If you come in here, we'll go to the tournament next year. And you could actually say that with a straight face. Now, Dixon did, about as good a team. It was a down season. They ended up being 9-11 in conference play, which in the toughest conference in America is pretty damn good. But I'm going to have to make the biggest horse's ass in this one is going to have to be the NCAA, because why are we forcing teams to make decisions like, well, we don't want to go to a bowl game because of, the transfer portal. We don't want to go to a postseason tournament because of the transfer portal. That's just silly. And, there's a lot that's wrong. And what I would propose that the NCAA do is 2 things. I would propose that they just sit there and say that the transfer portal is not going to be open until mid-April. And the second thing I would sit there and do, we're flirting around with it. Say, screw it. We're expanding the field to 128 teams. That's one additional game. 128 teams. And you say, and you go to the CBI, you go to the NIT, say, suck it. You're shutting down. Okay. Everybody who's worth anything is going to the NCAA tournament. You'd still get some exciting, over, hey, where's the seed going to be? You would still get some excitement over, automatic bids, because some smaller conference, team might be 13-18. They make a run and win their conference tournament. So you'll still get some of that action. But we're going to get rid of this BS of, well, I don't want to go to the JV tournament. I don't want to do that. Or the CBI, I don't want to go to this, this crappy tournament. Well, we got guys in the transfer portal, and I don't know. This is just lame, and absolutely it needs to change. And I think it's got to start with the NCAA. It's got to start with moving the transfer portal dates away from, in season when coaches have to make decisions about, geez, do we try our hardest to prepare for this bowl game? Do we try our hardest to prepare for this postseason tournament? Or do we plan for next year and do the best we can to plan for the transfer portal? I think, there's lots of changes that need to be made. Got no problem with kids transferring from one school to the next. My sister did it. It's absolutely necessary to allow these kids to do that, if they feel like their situation's going to improve. But you can wait a few weeks, to allow them to do it until the season's actually over. And that's, basically all that I've got, all that I can really line up there. We got Tim coming back here in about a minute or so. So the NCAA, you've got to do much better. And here's Timmy's back. So Tim, basically, I ran away with the NCAA as my runaway, and basically my contention is twofold. Number one, transfer portal has to be after the season. There's no reason why it should be in December for football. There's no reason why it should be in early March, or mid March for basketball. That's just silly. You push it back to mid-April. You push it back to January for football. So you don't have coaches making decisions about, turning down bowls or turning down postseason tournaments. And this is a wild and crazy idea. The other thing is just expand the NCAA tournament to 128 teams. It's only one extra game. You say to the CBI and to the NIT, suck it, you're closed.
There you have it. I don't mind it. I was going to go after the NIT as well. There's a kind of we'll call it a fucked up situation where a team was invited and then had their invite rescinded after a team that initially turned it down ends up saying, actually we'll come. We got out of the CBT and we're going to come to the NIT instead. So, these players who were all celebrating, they'd never made the NIT before. It was like a D2 program that had become a D1 program, things of that nature. Didn't get that opportunity. So I think once you invite somebody and another team turns it down, you can't come back and say, actually, no, I do want it now, right? Like if I pass on a job and then you offer the job to somebody else and then I come back and say, actually, I do want that job. I wouldn't know if I want to work for a company that goes back to the person they offer the job and say, actually, never mind, Tim's back in. I would appreciate being told, actually, hey, you passed and we offered to somebody else. The opportunity is no longer available. To me, that would have been fair.
Well, and what killed me is I looked up that story whenever you sent it out, and that team that they ended up rebuffing was 21-11. That's not a bad season. That's a pretty, small conference, but that's a better season. What I was mentioning TCU at 16-16. Yeah, that's Big 12, but and I don't think TCU deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. I'm not that big of a homer, but do you think that 21-11 record is a top 100 team?
Probably.
And 68 NCAA tournament bids, 32 NIT bids. That's 100 teams.
Yeah. The only question is, Scott, a team like that, right? Most likely one, maybe two games and they're bounced. Versus the NIT, you actually might have a chance to win that bad boy. Would you rather make the NIT and have a chance to win the NIT or be a sacrificial lamb in the first round in the NCAA tournament?
Well, probably I'd rather be in the tournament just so you can sit there and say, hey, we're in the tournament. Because it's probably a good recruiting tool. But as I was mentioning when you took a little break, TCU won the NIT in 2017. That's also a terrific recruiting tool. You're playing basketball in Madison Square Garden, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get positive with it. Positivity, good thoughts, happy thoughts. Let's tip a cap, Scott. Who are you looking at?
I absolutely love the effort that Tari Eason has been giving right now. I watched the beginning of that 76ers game, and it was noticeable, Tim. He was everywhere, and he was doing everything, and it looked like the rest of the team was sleepwalking. And they much did during the first 2.5 quarters of that game. They were sleepwalking through most of that game. Now, they brought in Jabari Smith later on, and he was playing hard. So it was kind of less noticeable, but I really like Tari Eason in this starting lineup because I love his energy. And the thing is that, and I get it, it's with the way this team plays basketball, it's very hard to bring that frantic energy every single night. There's just going to be nights where you don't feel it. I get it. But I have to tip my hat to Tari Eason, not only for that game, but he has really, I think, and this is with Eamon Thompson purely in mind, he's the most improved Rocket to me between last year and this year. And I think you could say last year was because of injuries, and that might very well be, but he is easily, to me, the most improved Rocket. And I don't even think it's close.
I don't know. He was hurt for so much of last year. I don't know. I mean, Amen is night and day, man. The guy's a fucking star. Yeah, you're not wrong. He's played great basketball. He's the spark off the bench. You know, his best attribute is his effort, night in and night out, right? Like, you will not always make every shot you look at. You will not always, complete every pass that you attempt, but your effort is the one thing that you can control, and he controls it night in and night out. So I think that's a great call out there, Scott.
And I think when you look at this team, I think what worries me is when you see like the three is not falling for Jalen Green or even Dylan Brooks. Sometimes it looks like their effort kind of wanes a little bit, like they kind of mentally check out just a little. But Tari Eason, it doesn't matter whether his shot's falling because his shot wasn't falling for much of the first half, but he was getting second chance points. He was doing whatever he could to keep the team in the game, and of course he was only one guy, so it wasn't working for much of that game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott. He's a fantastic spark plug, whether it's in the offensive line, the starting lineup, or off the bench. He brings it night in and night out. I'm going to tip my cap this week to Chef Nick Caserio, because in the opposite of the other team in Texas, how they operate, Chef Nick has chosen to be proactive when it comes to the extensions that he is giving out. He's extending Stingley a year before he had to. He extended Daniil Hunter before he let him get to market. He restructures contracts left and right to give himself more cap room. He's getting ahead of the curve, right? He offered Nico Collins the extension a year early, as opposed to letting him get to free agency this year. By doing that, look at the numbers that have come out after he signed Nico early, right? Like, you look at T. Higgins' deal. You look at Jamar Chase's deal. Do you want to go sign Nico Collins after those two guys sign those massive deals? I don't think so. Like, getting Stingley done now, like, yeah, it's expensive. $30 million a year is not cheap. But let's see what the going rate is next year for a top corner in the NFL, right? Like, let's see how that looks. And I have a pretty strong feeling he's going to extend CJ as soon as he can next year. He's not going to let this thing play out. I don't know about you, Scott, but I'm pretty happy, at least from a cap management and from a extension standpoint. I'm pretty happy with what Nick Caserio has done. Like, we, as Astros fans, how many times did we ask for these guys to get extended, right? Like, we wanted Correa extended, we wanted Springer extended, we wanted Bregman, we wanted Tucker, we wanted all these guys to get extended, and it never happened. They all walked out the door. Hey, give Nick the props for recognizing that you've got one of the best corners in the league and locking him up for longer. Give him the props for recognizing that Daniil Hunter should be here longer than just 2 years. Let's get him on a longer deal. And also give him the credit for signing contracts that can be restructured in the ways that he's been doing it.
So, two things immediately hit me right now. So you talked about Nico Collins. Now, I don't think there's any universe where Nico Collins is as good as Jamar Chase.
He's as good as T. Higgins, at least, though.
Is he better than T. Higgins?
I think so. But we're biased Houston fans.
T. Higgins is making more money.
That's what I'm saying. He did it. If you wait, you have to pay the market rate. But if you do it now, you set the fucking market. And he set the market when he did it.
The Jets are waiting on, the Jets, picked Sauce Gardner right after the Texans picked Derek Stingley. They're obviously waiting on an extension. How much is his extension going to cost? I mean, $30 million is the starting point now.
I think, but Stingley, outside the rookie year, Stingley has outplayed Sauce Gardner.
Oh, yeah, sure he has.
But I don't know if Sauce Gardner is willing to admit that.
But that's not the way that NFL free agency works. And I think Nick Casario figured that out. The second thing I was going to point out, though, is that all stories have been that Daniel Hunter is a terrific guy in the locker room. Stingley is a terrific guy in the locker room. So basically what you're telling your whole roster with what you've done this offseason, it's going, when you're a lazy asshole like Laramie Tunsil, we're shipping your ass out. When you're a good guy, when you're doing things the right way, you're getting paid. And so think about what that tells all the future, because Will Anderson's coming up next year. CJ Stroud's coming up next year. So, think about all these guys that are, coming up. And, before his injury, Tank Dell would have been, coming up as well. Of course, now he's not as good. And but, look at, guys like Kalen Bullock, guys like Lassiter. Okay, they know when my time comes, if I'm doing things the right way, I'm going to get taken care of.
Absolutely. That means something to those guys, right? Like when you know that, hey, I can settle in here, right? I've got a defensive head coach who's not going anywhere, right? Because I think a lot of times when you're on an offensive team and you start to like a defensive coordinator, that guy's gone, right? Well, your defensive coordinator is basically the head coach, right? So you're going to play in the same scheme.
Yeah.
That shit's not going to get messed with. You look around the room and realize, like, the guys who come in, as you said, and work their tail off and do a great job, they get taken care of. That, in the most PR way ever, they leaked that Stingley was in the locker room, in the weight room lifting when the news of his contract, right? Like, that's, PR bullshit. But either way, like, hey, if I come in, I work my tail off, I do my job well, I'll get taken care of at a market rate, right? Like, that seems to be the Texans' MO. Like, we don't want to deal with free agency. We'll get it done ahead of time because we don't want to get in a bidding war against anybody else. We'll pay you market price, and we'll get you taken care of.
Absolutely.
All right, Scott. Let's call some shit out. There's a lot to say about a lot of things right now, and I feel like it's time to make some call outs. It's time for that scumbag of the week.
All right, Tim. For 2 weeks in a row, I'm going to be a good boy. I'm going to stay away from politics. For the second week in a row. Did you catch a pitch of the series between the Dodgers and the Cubs?
Not a single one.
So here's my question. What do they call baseball? Like, what's its nickname?
America's pastime.
Gee. So why aren't we opening up baseball in America? Wouldn't that be a novel concept? And I get wanting to grow the sport. I get it. And I get the fact that the Dodgers have like half the marketable Japanese players on their team. Of all the high profile Japanese players, like 80% of them are on the Dodgers.
Or the Cubs, yeah.
I get it. They were all in the building. So, yeah, I get it. But
why does it have to be the first game, right?
The NFL does this right. The NFL, they play in London, they play in Germany, but you know who plays in London and Germany, Tim?
The Jags.
The Jaguars, because they fucking suck. And so they'll sit there and they'll be like Jaguars, Giants. Here you go. Merry Christmas.
Here you go, London.
Here you go, London. And they show up for that crap. They sell out the stadium because it's American football. Gosh darn it, this is so easy. You tell the 4 teams at the bottom. You tell the White Sox. You tell the Marlins. You tell the Pirates. You tell the Athletics. You tell the Angels, whoever is the bottom 4 teams. You sit there and say, you know what you get for being in the bottom 4? Next year, you're going to Europe. You're going to play a 9-game round robin. You'll play a 3-game series against the other 3 teams. You'll get a few days off on the front end, the back end, and that's who we're going to give to Japan because they don't know the difference. You go to Korea, they don't know the difference. You go to Australia, they don't know the difference. Why are we sending them the Dodgers? Why are we sending them the Yankees? have
I don't
a
even
little.
mind. I don't even mind that. I don't even just why does it have to be there's 162 games. You can play 3 of them in Japan. I don't fucking care. Why does it have to be the first ones of the season? Why do we
Well,
have
and
to
then
come back and continue fucking spring training after you've
yes,
opened the season?
I don't know. I don't know how you, because I guess they figured that you need a week to recover from jet lag, which I think anybody that's traveled extensively knows that you don't need a week. That's probably a day. So, maybe 2 on the outside. So, what are we doing? Send teams that nobody cares about, number one. And number two, opening day has got to be in the United States. It's got to be in Cincinnati because that's the tradition of opening day. Make it a national holiday. Let's really, go all out on this. But to me, to sit there and have, Shohei Ohtani, to have Sasaki, to have Yamamoto, to have who's the guy that's pitching for the Cubs?
Emoda.
Who had what? He had 4 no-hit innings, which is absolutely stupid because they have to pull him because it's spring training. His arm isn't built up yet. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing?
It's dumb. It's so fucking dumb, Scott. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I am all for playing a game in Japan, playing a series in Japan. I'm for it. I think it's great. Like, the Japanese love of baseball is massive. They love it more than America at this point, I think, right? Like, a percentage of population that watches baseball is probably higher in Japan than it is in America. That's awesome. And I think they deserve a series with like all the Japanese players that we've signed lately. I just don't think it, as you said, needs to be at 6 o'clock in the morning and March 19th and call it regular season opening day. And then, then we're going to have our normal opening day. Like, play it in June, play it in May. I don't care. It doesn't need to be, or make this an exhibition series. Why do they have to be regular season games?
Well, that, and, imagine you're a Dodgers fan and they're telling you, oh, you're opening up over there. Game starts at 3 a.m. your time. Set your alarm clock. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm with you. I wish I could be a good boy and not go down that road, Scott, but I'm going to. And I use the term road specifically because Texas Republican Joanne Schaffner from Nacogdoches has proposed a bill that will rename I-35 in specific portions near in Austin and Travis County President Donald J. Trump Highway. Again, this is getting out of hand. The desire for fucking nobodies, right? Like, you're a Texas state representative. You're in Donald Trump's eyes, you are a fucking nobody. But you want a little love. You're willing to do whatever. You're willing to bend the fucking knee and kiss the ring at such a level just so he noticed you, just so you get daddy fucking Trump's little bit of attention. Like, this is insane to me, right, Scott? Like, if you had a child, like you're a school counselor, you've been through that process. I'm gonna tell you about a kid who acts out looking for attention because they don't feel like they get attention from their parent enough. You're gonna be concerned, right? Like, you're gonna be like, hey, there's some possibly negative energy going on here. We should look into this. Like, the way that this child acts out in attention seeking ways really should be looked at because psychologically speaking, this is not okay. And that's just like, hey, as a counselor, you'd be like, hey, these are warning signs, red fucking flag. But no, these are elected officials who want attention so fucking bad where putting a bill into Congress to have Donald Trump on the $100 bill. That's my local congressman. We're trying to rename highways President Donald J. Trump Highway. Like, what are we doing? There's plenty at stake right now. There's plenty of actual fucking work that needs to be done in this state. They are trying to kill our school system as we know it. And what are you concerned with? is renaming I-35. Like, it's just so goddamn frustrating, Scott. Like, and it's like when Obama was in power, right? Or and not even on power, that's the wrong word. When Obama was in office, like you didn't have Democrats all over like trying to get a little love, like trying to get a pat on the butt like this. Like obviously everyone wants to be mentioned by the president, especially around election time. It's a boost, right? Like, but this is a whole nother level. This is pandering to a level that literally only exists in places with totalitarian governments.
Well, I don't know if you heard about this story. I want to, is it Minnesota or Wisconsin? The 5 guys that brought together the bill of Trump derangement syndrome,
I did
making
see
it
that.
official. Did you see that one of them got clipped for solicitation of a minor?
I did. Absolutely. But
That's
it's
the
what
one branch.
happens, dude. Like wherever the national like Republican convention is, like the grinder fucking numbers are insane in that city every year. Like wherever it rotates to, like male prostitutes flock and make a killing on these fucking hypocrites. Like they are the biggest hypocrites in the world. They love family values, but then they go out and they hire gay prostitutes to have sex with because they can't admit who they really are. They rail against this shit. They have no moral compass whatsoever. They really don't. Like this lady, I have no idea who she is. I know nothing about her. I can tell you right now, she has no fucking moral compass. And that's again not knowing anything about her politics other than she's trying to get a highway renamed Donald J. Trump Highway. That tells me everything I need to know about you. And it tells me that like you're not a serious politician. You are like you're a fucking crazy person.
Well, but let me try this on for size, Tim. So you remember before the Rockets played in Toyota Center, where did they play?
The Summit.
But it wasn't the Summit. It was Compaq Center.
Oh, Compaq Center, yeah.
But see, you and I called it the Summit because that's what it was for most of his existence. So my idea is, okay, we're going to change the name of I-35 to Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump Highway. Okay. That makes you happy.
But it's not that I care that we're changing it, right? Like I want to be clear about that. I want to be clear. It's not the name change itself. It's the feeling of I need daddy's attention. That's what it is to me, right? Like every president gets stuff named after him. Like that's like there's literally the George Bush is the name of one of the highways around here. Tom fucking Landry is the name of I-30 at different points, right? Like I don't care about that, but it's that these no-name piece of shit Republicans who just want daddy's attention are like just doing everything they can just to get mentioned for 2 seconds in a truth tweet or whatever they're called from Daddy Trump. And
okay.
Hey, we'll like not do any political work, but we're gonna rename a highway. We're gonna put your face on the $100 bill. We're gonna like it's just insane, man.
Okay, story time, Tim. Story time. Have you heard of the Bum Steer Awards?
The what?
The Bum Steer Awards.
I have not.
So Texas Monthly, they release an edition every year where they give away the awards for the stupidest things that happened in Texas. Greg Abbott is a frequent winner. But
they must listen to the show.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you knew this, but I actually was the impetus for a Bum Steer Award. So when I was at TCU, I wrote a column, tongue firmly planted in cheek, where I was lauding the Nashville network for showing Dukes of Hazzard reruns. And so somebody in the student house, they decided that we're going to write, God, what do they call it? The one that doesn't have a force of law. It's just like not a referendum, but anyway, you get the idea. A referendum commending the Nashville network for re-releasing the Dukes of Hazzard. And it turned into like an 8-hour debate because all the African-American students in the student house were like, They had, the Confederate battle flag on their car. Why are we commending them for re-releasing this show? And it was a joke, from the minute, from the start. At least it was a joke for me. And the last thing I want to see is I don't want to see this turn into this great, big, huge debate over that we're going to waste our time over what a highway's called. I don't care. Call it, Tweedle your ball sack highway. Whatever. But, to me, if you're going to fight something, fight vouchers. Let's do that. Let's.
And that's my greater point, Scott, is like instead of doing the actual political work as a representative, which is fighting vouchers, this is in the House, and she's a House rep. She's introducing a bill to name this Donald J. Trump highway, right? Like, that's my point. But that's my point.
She's in favor of vouchers. What she's doing is she's trying to distract. Look over here at this shiny object. It's its name. You want to debate that? It's like, no. You can name it. You can give him a $250 bill, and you can, put Trump. You'd have to pass a law that allows you to put a living person on currency. But hey, who cares about the law?
No one cares about laws. He's above. If you haven't figured out that he's above the law yet, then you're in for a tough time.
But
like, he literally is going to impeach judges who rule against him, and like
how many people in Trump land are going to see a $250 bill?
They'll probably see it when someone pays with it at the gas station that they work at.
But they're not going to have it. It's not going to be in their possession.
All right, Scott. That's going to do it for us here this week. Next week, let's hope we have some big news on who's breaking Astros camp. I am all aboard the hype train. I really do hope Cannon Smith is your starting right fielder on opening day. But we shall see. Only time will truly tell.
Absolutely.
But that's going to do it for us. We appreciate everybody who joined us this week on Born on the Bayou Sports. We'll see everybody next week. Have a good one.